Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me. This is another one of those driving home from work kind of chats, because it's really the only time I had to put these things together. And somehow I feel like I can kind of condense my thoughts because I got to get these things done without sitting in a parking lot for too long. But wanted to hang out with you for a bit and share my thoughts on production and fulfillment as storytelling. Because I was talking to a friend online, and we were chatting. We're thinking about kind of like co-writing a story together, or he's writing a story, and maybe I kind of help on the the editing side or something like this. And then he was asking me about production and fulfillment, and we're gonna have a chat about that. And I just kind of realized that it's production and fulfillment is its own storytelling in itself, right? So, when we start off as fans of a storytelling medium, so let's, that could be anything, but let's stick to comics because that's probably why you know me. The first way the first kind of level, and it's really it's very natural the way to think about storytelling and what it creatively involves is you're thinking about the writing and you're thinking about the art, because that's kind of what's in front of you between your hands as you're reading your favorite comic. You're thinking about the names on the cover and how maybe one day your name's going to be on a cover. You're thinking about, like, how can I be one of those names? But what's interesting is that one of the, you could say, like, the probably at least as big of an aspect of what the medium entails, if not possibly the biggest aspect of comics, is something that's hiding in plain sight when you're looking at your favorite comic in your hands. Is it's the paper. It's the ink. It's the fact that it exists at all, and you were able to pick it up at I don't know, maybe it's 2012 and you went to Barnes and Noble to buy a comic. Maybe it's 1993 and you went to your local comic shop and you picked up a comic. So it's that point of sale, the context in which you were able to discover that comic and pick it up and buy it. All of that is a production fulfillment aspect that it's really kind of hard to see because it's just so obvious. It's staring right in front of you. But it's a lot of it has to do with the little tiny names on the inside front cover. So the production company, or the printer, the distributor, all those sort of things. Those are really big pieces, and it's all a way of storytelling in a sense. You go to a local comic shop and they're trying to give you a particular vibe, a welcoming vibe for the audience that they're trying to attract. Like something that feels like an extension of. I mean, you've never been to a comic shop that doesn't have a deteriorating life-size scale model of the Alien, or like Ridley Scott's Alien, or a Spider-Man costume over a mannequin or something like. There's just a lot of ways that they're trying to have the point of sale be part of the story, right, of your experience of enjoying not just the comic itself, but going and being a part of comics as an industry, and maybe have developed something of a community feel for the comic shop and your kind of relationship with that business. And that particularly goes with crowdfunding, right? Because the middleman, all the middlemen pretty much drop out, and you're just kind of left with a creator and all the hats that he or she is wearing, and the consumer, the buyer, the backer, right, the pre-order person. And so if you're good at crowdfunding, if you can do it more than once well, and if you don't lose your mind over that, you probably do understand, and you've learned this from experience, and you've learned to probably embrace it on some level, that crowdfunding is storytelling, that production and fulfillment is storytelling, and that's it's just an extension of, it's just another way of you telling the story, the enjoyment you get, I guess, from writing and drawing the comics on the page. You're just using that same skill set and applying it in different ways, and kind of like a multimedia approach, just in your campaign and in the social media that you use, and your email lists and your interaction, the handshakes, the live streams, all that sort of thing. It's all storytelling, right? Which is another way of talking about branding. Branding is storytelling. Branding isn't just, it's not just, think about Apple products. It's not just like the symbol of an apple. It's think different as a phrase, right? That was something that really broke them out. Steve Jobs broke out Apple in the 90s with think different, and shamelessly associating his product with Albert Einstein and all these people, so that you felt like you were thinking outside the box by consuming his product rather than someone else's. You can talk about Tesla products today. You can think of a faceless corporation as one thing, but if there's a story, if there's a person, a personable person, maybe with a lot of unique, interesting characteristics about them, and eccentric is good in these circumstances, but if there's a lot about them that seems interesting and unique and engaging and positive and inspiring and motivating, thinking about Elon Musk, and who's kind of probably today's and maybe this decade's next Steve Jobs, in terms of personalizing a brand so that it can be a human interest story to follow the brand. All that gets applied, just thinking on a much smaller scale, just down to every particular comic book story, and the branding, the storytelling of fulfillment and production that gets involved with that, that gets people motivated and inspired to back your comic, to back your campaign, really. I say backing comics, but I think everyone knows by now that, I think it's pretty obvious, and I think it's pretty interesting, that it's not the comics so much. The comic is kind of, I don't know, comic book crowdfunding is a necessary anchor element to crowdfunding, in my little sphere of crowdfunding at least, but it's so much more than the comic book. Even in the campaign itself, whether it's toys, or you could think, like with Wild Tales, for instance, with my particular latest campaign that I'm about to fulfill. I thought I was building a comic book campaign with a lot of add-ons, and turns out I didn't realize this. More than around half of my backers actually backed at the highest tier that included a comic, and that was the Rubicon Club tier, and that tier is mostly built out of storytelling, augmenting devices, I guess, like the Decoder Ring cipher box that gets you discount codes to future Kyrie campaigns. It's got a figurine that comes in a cereal box. It's got a koozie. It's got magnets and patches and original art. It comes in a really cool mock Nintendo 64 box. All that is telling a story, right? So the comic book tells a story, but if the comic book comes in a box that is kind of themed exactly like the comic, but it's a box full of stuff that's kind of, the story is I don't know if it's meta, but it's more than the comic at that point, right? So if you can figure out how to tell a clear story that's more than the comic itself, but definitely includes and incorporates and jives with the comic on the page, but is branded to be more and is a human interest kind of element, right? So there's really, you have a really good built up relationship with people that you treat, hopefully you treat them as peers, your backer, investor pool, who have known you and got to, kick the tires and see that you are good for it, and they like the sort of distinctive stories that you tell. I think people really respond well to that. I know I do. And it's all very human, right? That's kind of the recurring theme that I'm continually realizing is, technology will always change, but because humans aren't changing, we're always going to continue to adapt and mold our technology. We're going to bend it into human proportions. We're going to find ways to use technology to root out authenticity, to find authenticity, and to discover who's inauthentic, right? It's just tools in our very human skill set to figure out who we can trust and who we want around us and who we want us taking our money. So if you like telling a story that builds that sort of authenticity relationship with people, you're going to be telling that probably pretty well. You're going to learn how to tell that well in production and fulfillment, and you're also going to tell it well on the page. So it's all part of a greater kind of narrative, I think, that the people who do it well and do it in a repeated fashion, where their campaigns tend to accumulate more and more backers and repeat backers, those are the people that you want to be watching. And you'll learn how to tell, frankly, generally speaking, you'll learn how to tell better stories even on the page, I think, because these are all kind of interrelated concepts. If you can learn how to tell a good story, if you can connect with people on the point of sale, if you can connect with them with your branding and your kind of narrative packaging and fulfillment, you're going to figure out ways how to connect with those same people, but just in a more conventional narrative through your comic book itself. So all these things are things to think about. I'm saying these out. This isn't like a TED Talk. Like, this is me trying to think through how to articulate these things for myself, because it's just what I'm realizing. Like Wild Tales, I thought it was about comic books, but most people backed at the meta level, I guess, like the bigger than comic level, and they even got frustrated. You should see my DMs. Some people didn't back at the cheaper tier, even though I thought I was giving them a better value. Me making my comics cheaper and cheaper, thanks to financial success from previous campaigns. People resent that. I think they want to know that they want to feel like they're, and it's completely valid, they want to be investing at higher and higher tiers, and they want you to give them opportunities to invest at a level that feels right for them, and there's a value in that in itself. That's probably a whole nother video, but let me know your thoughts. It's just it's a funny thing, right? I know as a backer of other campaigns myself, that authenticity factor is key. It's far and away the number one thing that I'm looking for. There's many campaigns that fit the sort of genre that I typically like to read that I will not back because of authenticity reasons, inauthenticity reasons. And there's a lot of campaigns I'll back that are outside of what I conventionally like to read because of that authenticity factor. I've gone way outside of that. Stuff I would normally never read, except that I like the cut of someone's jib. I liked the creative team and they had a very strong narrative focused game, right? A very high authenticity factor. So just things to be aware of, and to be thinking through, as a backer, as I'm sure all you guys are, and from time to time. And if you're thinking about going into the creative space, just realizing that's going to be your central theme that you have to work out between the pages and in the campaign itself is, are you authentic? Are you honest? And how can you sell that honesty in an honest manner? And that's really what people are buying when they buy stories. So let me know your thoughts. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you later.